What's going on, everyone? Jax here, and today, me and my beard have a very special car for you, the Lexus RC F, which despite my beard, I'm still better looking than. No, that was unfair, because with my beard, I'm actually quite ugly. In fact, Mrs. Jax said she's disgusted by the sight of me. I'm sure she didn't, actually mean that. Oftentimes, we get so wrapped up in what we think a car intended to be that we forget to consider what it actually is. When Lexus introduced its suggestively lettered F performance line in 2008 with the ISF, most of us just thought it was another attempt to mimic BMW's M, Mercedes AMG, Cadillac's V, or Infinity's whatever who cares. But few people would have imagined that 12 years later, only Lexus would be carrying the torch for naturally aspirated engines in this segment. And what an engine it is. The 5-liter V8 in the RC F pumps out 472 horsepower and nearly 400 pound-feet of torque. It revs smoothly, sounds fantastic, and provides a sense of occasion that's getting increasingly hard to find. It is a fantastic power plant, and it really helps the RCF to feel like more than the sum of its parts. And there are a lot of parts, because the RC is actually a mashup of 3 different Lexus models: the supremely underrated current Lexus GS sedan, the tragic old IS convertible, and the current IS sedan. It's from these 3 unlikely donors that the RC emerges. But it somehow works. Mostly. The RCF has a nice stance, solid proportions, and it has long, sweeping lines that really help to visually lengthen the body and make it look more elegant. It's all very attractive until you get to the front. And I know over the years, a lot of people have commented on the way the RCF looks. So let's not beat a dead horse, especially since a dead horse would be more visually attractive than the RC's face.
I done shot that horse!
Let me put it this way. The RC's face is like the Star Wars prequels, specifically Jar Jar Binks. All of the ingredients were there to make something great. A cobbled together platform, a stonking powerful, naturally aspirated V8, Lexus quality, reliability, and durability, all glued to the road by some of the best tires available today. And then someone said, what if we added a 7-foot-tall alien with a Jamaican accent? And then everyone screamed yes, and then they passed the plate of mushrooms to the next person, or whatever they were doing that caused that decision to happen.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Well, I don't know what happened any more than you do. It doesn't make sense. You took an extremely simple and classic automotive form, and then you somehow grafted on a face that only... Oh, well, see? That guy is clearly still out there. Probably peddling his mushrooms to the Germans now or something.
Steady, steady.
In truth, the RCF's looks have improved over time, and they're greatly enhanced by this car's gorgeous white pearlescent paint, stunning 19-inch forged alloy BBS wheels, and orange Brembo brakes. It's truly a seductive-looking coupe from most angles, and thanks to that phenomenal V8 engine, it has enough of the force to make you forget the face. Driving the Lexus RCF. So despite this car's sort of Frankenstein platform, it drives really well. A lot better than you'd expect for a car that was sort of cobbled together from pieces. The engine has gobs of power, especially as you rev it out, and it makes a fantastic noise as it does so. Especially in Sport Plus. As you can imagine, from normal to Sport Plus, more of that engine noise is allowed to reach you with some enhancement, I believe. But man, what a good sounding engine. It is a pleasure to rev this engine out. There's just something so nice about a sort of smooth, high winding, not like crazy Ferrari stuff, but like also not like a Corvette where you have that grunt down low. This engine will rev, and it's so smooth and has such great characteristics. It's truly a nice engine to listen to experience. Now we're going down the handling road in normal mode. As I turn onto the road, I will note that the brakes are a little bit grabby. The pedal is short travel, which is nice for sort of enthusiastic driving, but the brakes are a little grabby, they're a little touchy. It's something I've noticed in other Toyota and Lexus products. It's not a deal breaker. If you lived with the car, you'd probably get used to it, but I do find that it's not very linear, that it doesn't seem to correspond to how much you press on the pedal. Now we're in normal mode right now going down the handling road. As you can imagine, this car is going to move a little bit more than some of the other cars I've had on this road. However, in typical Lexus fashion, I'm going around the first sort of sharp corner, which was like a joke, like didn't even like phase this car. This car absorbs initial impacts with a sort of otherworldly, witchcraft, magical, I just don't know what Lexus does to help the car absorb that initial hit. There's a particularly bad bump coming up here in a second. And this car, as sporty as it is, riding on 19-inch wheels and Michelin Pilot 4s, there it is. I mean, it's like nothing. It's really impressive. The car does a good job masking its weight. It's 4,000 pounds, 2 tons, but it does a good job controlling it. You're aware of the weight. There's that brake pedal again. I do not like the brake pedal feel, or at least the linearity of the brake pedal, or lack of linearity of the brake pedal. And now on a smoother road in normal suspension mode, the car becomes a comfortable grand tourer. It has all-day comfort. These seats are phenomenal. These are excellent seats. They're sort of deeply scalloped and heavily bolstered, but they're not quite as insanely aggressive as the Civic Type R's seats, which have sort of one purpose. These seats are plenty comfortable for longer journeys, but do have the necessary bolstering up high to hold you in place, especially someone as tall as me. They really strike a nice balance. I really enjoy these seats. One thing that is also immediately evident about this car is it has very good steering. This steering wheel, these F Sport steering wheels, I cannot say enough good things about this steering wheel. I love it. I love this steering wheel. I love the size, the diameter of the rim. I love the thickness of the rim. I think it just feels sporty. It feels good. The shift paddles are perfectly placed. Don't worry, we'll get into that in a second. But this steering wheel is just a delight. All cars should have wheels this good. From mode to mode, the throttle mapping changes along with sort of the aggressiveness of the mode of the car. I find normal mode's throttle calibration to be a little bit lazy. It doesn't feel like the car is as powerful as it is. It has 472 horsepower. This is a powerful car, and it does not feel that way, especially when pulling away from a stop. It's almost like it goes up to like 4th gear, and it's like, no. We're not playing that game. However, when you dial it down into Sport and Sport Plus, it has a noticeable effect on the car, especially in that throttle calibration. I think in general driving, Sport mode has a much better sort of calibration. The car feels powerful, but it feels like it's holding back a little bit, but not like in normal mode where it just completely neuters the car's capabilities. Now, when you go into Sport Plus mode, the car assumes that you're being aggressive, and so it'll downshift quickly, it'll hold gears. I will say in automatic mode, the car has a conventional 8-speed automatic. It does not downshift with the sort of insanity that you'd expect from like a dual clutch box or even a really well-programmed torque converter automatic. It doesn't have that kind of like intensity in regular mode, but when you put it into manual mode, it does a really good approximation of a dual clutch. In fact, the shifts themselves even become harder. You feel them in the seat. It's pretty cool actually to experience that in a Lexus of all cars. And it does a really good job of sort of putting you in control, summoning those downshifts quickly and giving you that sort of tactile feel of clicking off a shift and feeling it reverberate through the car in a meaningful way. It's exciting, it's fun. It really kind of ups the experience of driving this car, and I really appreciate that Lexus went to those lengths when putting this car together in its Frankenstein platform. Even in sport mode, the calibration of the suspension and where it's kind of at right now on this relatively smooth road is really pleasant. It's not soft. It's not that like Lexus dialed it back and didn't go all in. It's just really well sorted, and credit where credit is due. These Michelin Pilot 4s, oh my my God. Test driving a car with Michelin Pilot Sports on it, it should be like, that's like the ultimate like selling point. Now I just want to throw away those Firestone Firehawks I bought for the Corvette and buy some ultra expensive Michelins. Why? Because when people talk about are they worth it, they are worth it. They really are. Let's put it into manual mode. Oh, yes. Downshift. Oh, yeah. Downshift hard. Oh, man. That engine is biblical. It is so good. Hear that beep? It's a little auditory warning to shift right then. Red line, shift right then. God, it's so good. What were Lexus thinking when they put this in? What were they thinking when they created this engine? It's just unlike anything else. I've heard that the GSF sedan is really good, and I really want to experience that car now, because this car with this engine, it just punches you in the face. You don't expect a Lexus to chirp its tires and throw you back in the seat and just take off. It just totally catches you by surprise, and it's absolutely intoxicating. I have not driven the current BMW M4, but I have been in its presence when it was driven enthusiastically, and it does not have an engine note to speak of, that's for sure. This car, man, so much character and soul coming through that engine. Thank you, Lexus. Thank you for keeping this going. Cars in front of me going slow. Downshift for no reason. And the power comes on like as you go past 4,000 RPM, really starts to come on. And it's buttery smooth, just buttery smooth. One thing that I didn't even know that the RCF had was an active spoiler. This car has an active spoiler that rises around 50 miles an hour and goes up and down with the car's sort of speed. So it's actively doing active things actively. I don't imagine it makes a huge difference in this car unless you are on a track or in some sort of extremely high speed situation. But it looks cool, and that's a thing that matters to people like me, if I'm being honest. You just want to wind this engine out just to do it, just to hear it. And it kind of makes me wish that this car weighed a little bit less. I think it's a result of combining those 3 different platforms together, especially that middle section of the old IS convertible with the extra stiffening. But imagine if this car weighed a few hundred pounds less. I know in the track edition with the big wing, it does weigh a few hundred pounds less, and I think it cracks 4 seconds to 60. I think it's like 3.8 seconds to 60 or something like that. This one's, I think, rated at about 4.1, 4.2 or somewhere in thereabouts. Even in Sport Plus, I've been in Sport Plus for a while now, and the car is totally livable. I think the credit goes to the Lexus suspension, but I think it also goes to those Michelin Pilot 4s, which somehow are able to maintain an insane level of grip and performance while also returning an extremely comfortable ride. It's just part of that Michelin voodoo. Analog clock. Why? Let's go. Oh my gosh. They should bottle it and sell it. People in 2037. Hey, remember when there was an opioid crisis? Now there's a crisis of people selling bottled RC F engine notes. That was stupid. That is not. Oh my God. It just screams up there. It's got this mechanical kind of technical quality to it. It sort of reminds me of the NSX's engine note like an octave lower. And you go around these corners and the Michelins just dive into this corner right here. Nothing but grip. Nothing but grip and intensity and performance. It is hugely impressive what this car is capable of doing. It does not get enough credit for its dynamic abilities. The interior of the RCF is a mixed bag, mostly good. On the plus side, there's plenty of space for someone my height, and the seats are the perfect balance between comfortable and sporty. They're aggressively bolstered and scalloped, yet they somehow retain their sort of comfort and everyday livability. The bolsters aren't so high, they prevent you from getting out of the car, so it's a really nice compromise for sporty driving, but also conceding to the reality of driving this car on a daily basis. The build quality is top-notch, which is what you'd expect from Lexus, but some of the materials don't quite live up to the $80,000 as-tested price. This car is almost $80,000. But I'd like to see a little bit more of that fake leather up high instead of, especially on the passenger side, sort of a large area of just high quality plastic. It is high quality and it looks nice, and it is assembled with perfect fit and finish. But at the end of the day, it's still just nice plastic. Especially something as nice as the absolutely stunning carbon fiber trim. This car has the sort of silver infused carbon fiber trim, and it's gorgeous. It really is. It has all the bells and whistles you'd expect with Lexus's sort of comprehensive infotainment system that is pretty much in all of its models, along with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And this particular model has navigation, which, if I've said it once, I've said it a million times, utterly useless in a car these days. Like, why would you even get it? It is the biggest ripoff in the automotive industry, but that's a soapbox for another time. However, the Mark Levinson audio system is probably the first premium audio system that I have had in a test car where I actually felt like, yes, it made a difference that I could tell. It is astoundingly good. It sounds like you are literally sitting in the bottom of a concert hall, even if you're listening to a podcast. It's incredible. I don't know what you call it, if it's like fidelity or whatever. It's a frankly amazing audio system. But it's all still controlled by Lexus's obnoxious trackpad. Again, as I said in the Lexus UX review, I think this is the right idea, but the wrong execution. I know some people like Jason Camisa and other people disagree, and they think that it should just be a straight sort of touch functionality. I like the idea of having a way to input your commands while keeping the screen as high and close to the driver's sightline as possible. I just don't think anyone's cracked the code yet. This definitely isn't it. So Lexus, if you could fix this, because it just feels weird when you're touching it. It like vibrates all like weird, not like a phone, like it's like trying to do an approximation of a phone. Like if you gave an iPhone to an alien and you were like, this is what we use to communicate, and he was like, I can make this, and then he made it, and he was like, now I'll lure them to their death.
Foolish earthling.
I don't know. I've been in quarantine for a long time, all right? A long time. I've had a lot to think about. Apparently, alien communication devices luring people to their deaths is one of those things. I'm at a park all by my lonesome, like always, bringing this content to you. You don't get this kind of hard-hitting journalism from the straight pipes. That's not really journalism, it's more like slowly melting into insanity. But you don't get slowly melting into insanity from the straight pipes. And on top of it all, the trunk is very generous and will easily swallow a weekend's worth of luggage for 2 people. But not more than 2 people, because human people couldn't sit in the back seats. They're only like acceptable for Ewoks or something, I don't know, or like body parts or, you know, shelf space for luggage, because I don't know of anybody that can sit in those seats. Maybe like the Black Knight from King Arthur and the Holy Grail.
All right, we'll call it a draw.
You seen that? Just me? Comment down below if you've seen that movie, because you're probably like 40 or older. The gauge cluster is nice. I wish it were a tad brighter. Whatever kind of glass or plexiglass they have between you and it sometimes casts reflections, and I have it set to max brightness. I still don't really quite think it's bright enough. And while it does change based on the drive mode, it's not quite as dynamic as the gauge clusters in like the LFA or the LC, or to be honest with you, even in the UX. The UX had a little gauge cluster exhauster that sort of mimicked those high-end cars. I would like to see something like that here. It does change in cool ways, but it's not quite as sort of graphically complex. Also, a head-up display would kind of be nice at nearly 80 grand, as would wireless charging, and maybe a surround view camera. You know, stuff like that. And that's really what your final decision will rest on, to be honest. How much this car costs and how it looks versus the competition. A similarly spec'd BMW M4 costs around the same, weighs less, handles better, and comes with a little more pedigree associated with the M rather than the F. But it lacks this car's soulful V8 engine and most likely lacks its faultless reliability. Plus, aside from the face, it's arguably not as attractive as the RC F inside or out. And that kind of brings me back to my original point that I started with. If you intend for this car to be a straight-up rival to the BMW M4 or the Audi RS5, I think you'll be kind of disappointed. And while it lacks both of those cars' sheer athleticism, strangely, it's the Lexus that provides the more emotional, dynamic powertrain and gives you more satisfaction in that department, far more than the BMW or the Audi RS5. So what happens if you don't compare this to an M or an RS or an AMG? Well, to be honest, things start to make a little bit more sense. This is an everyday, comfortable, executive coupe that an owner could put tens of thousands of miles on without any fear of breakdown or repair costs, all while giving you the opportunity to enjoy the occasional extremely spirited drive and providing a naturally aspirated V8 experience that is pretty much the only game in town. It's the kind of car for wealthy couples who fancy taking a long weekend vacation together, and they value the journey as much as they do the destination, which, as you've probably rightly guessed, is a rather narrow market segment. But applaud Lexus for continuing the legacy of the naturally aspirated V8 engine for just a little bit longer. Applaud them for putting an emotionally rewarding powertrain into a luxury coupe with peerless quality and reliability. And forgive them for blemishing an otherwise excellent design with the face of a Dyson vacuum cleaner. But just remember, throughout history, there have been dozens of pro athletes and Olympians who were butt ugly, and it certainly didn't detract from their performances. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I truly hope that you enjoyed it. This car was very exciting and a lot of fun, and to be honest with you, it gets a lot of flack for the way it looks, but it doesn't look that bad, especially in profile or from the rear. Those 19-inch BBS wheels are gorgeous. They look fantastic. It truly does have a sense of presence and a sense of style, and I had a blast driving it around for the week. Also, I hope you noticed I really tried to up the sort of editing and style of this particular review. I enjoy filming in cameras and editing as much as I enjoy cars and motorcycles. I hope it shines through in the quality of the work. If you did like it or you noticed something in particular that you thought was cool, please leave me a comment down below and tell me what it is, and I will try my best to continue to incorporate those little touches and tricks in future vlogs and reviews. I have a blast doing this, and I just want to communicate that level of excitement to you guys, and I hope you enjoy watching these as much as I enjoy making them. Until next time, please stay safe. I know places are reopening, and it's important that we all remember to work together for the best possible outcome. I hope you and your families are safe and well, and I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure you ride safe, definitely drive safe, especially if you're in something like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. All right, we're gonna turn back onto the handling road. We're going to turn it into Sport Plus. We're going to put it in, oh, there's a pickup truck. We're gonna put it in manual mode, but no, we're not gonna put it in manual mode because there's a pickup truck. We'll just keep driving in circles. Oh, I'd like to experience it again, but behind a Nissan Sentra, which is the automotive which is in automotive language, like shouting from the rooftops, "I'll have more vanilla, please." Not that I could do it and maintain a stopwatch at the same time. That would be fun. Yeah, go ahead, turn right in front of me, Nissan Versa. Play with your life. It did not set off the collision warning though, so I'm assuming that we were safe.
Oh yeah, give me some more of that air conditioning. I had it off for way too long. Whew, a few pounds lighter now. Fake. Okay, Honda Civic.